At midnight, the genius of David Bowie. First, a rebellious streak rooted in long hair. Just one of the gems from Bowie at the BBC.
Do you think of yourself as Bowie or David Jones, the boy from South London?
Less and less as Bowie. I don't even know how to pronounce it anymore.
Changes. Don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. It's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time.
My mother didn't realise what she was starting, but she would always say at breakfast, "Oh, I could have been a singer, you know," and then she'd sing, and there was this thing on radio, Two-Way Family Favourites, when I was about 6, and every Sunday without fail, this thing by Ernest Luft was sung. And my mother would say, "Oh, for the wings of a dove." So that was like one of my first influences, I think, was Ernest Luft. I wanted to be a white Little Richard at 8. I remember getting so excited when they showed Little Richard on television. It was just amazing to actually see him moving. He'd just been a record to me before, you know. I saw him first in 1963, I think it was, and the Rolling Stones were opening up for him, and I'd never seen anything so rebellious in my life. Some guy yells out, "Get your hair cut." And Mick says, "What, I look like you?"
So with the nucleus of some of his friends, a 17-year-old Davy Jones has just founded the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Long-Haired Men. Well, here we are. Long-haired men, you've got to have your hair, what, 9 inches long before you can join?
Well, I think we're past that over now.
Have you?
Yes.
Now, exactly who's being cruel to you?
Well, I think we're all fairly tolerant, but for the last 2 years we've had comments like "darling" and "can I carry a handbag" thrown at us. I think it's just had to stop now.
I mean, did you get this off the Rolling Stones, really?
Oh, no,
Definitely not.
But did any of you have your hair growing long more than 2 years ago, say?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Did you? Before the Rolling Stones ever did?
Well, it takes a long time to get this length, you know.
But do you really think that many people are on your side, is what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, there's quite a few.
Oh, no.
1,000 teenagers over Britain.
Ever since I was a teenager, I felt so adrift and so not part of everyone else, with so many dark secrets about my family in the cupboard, that it kind of made me feel very much on the outside of everything.
It was my initial fascination with mime and expressing things with facial movements and body talk rather than articulating things. I mean, I'd done as much articulating as I felt was necessary with the actual songs.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirt you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and and I'm floating in a most peculiar way.
I wasn't that comfortable as a singer, but I knew that I could probably project a character or an emotion. I could tell the story with my voice if I could find the right tenor form. I was influenced on one part by Little Richard, on the other part by people like Tony Newley, Scott Walker, Elvis Presley, and I knew that I was none of those. So I thought the best thing for me to do was just sort of use different stylings for different songs. Quite underground fans in London at the time. So I wrote was like singularly different to anything else that was happening. So there was that kind of frisson, you know, that sense of anticipation that we were unleashing this thing on the world. All the bravado of being in your 20s.
Didn't know what time it was and the lights were low. I leaned back on my radio. Some cat was laying down some get it on rock and roll, he said.
A superstar of the beat age prepares to meet his public. David Bowie spends 2 hours before a show caressing his body with paint. Bowie is a skinny lad with a pasty complexion and ochre-dyed hair in a Teddy Boy style of 20 years ago. Yet with a dash of makeup, he's transforming himself into an object that is worshipped by millions of girls. Outside the Winter Gardens of Bournemouth, some of those fans are arriving to pay homage to a man who's become the high priest of pop. Every seat was sold months ago. Some fans were even blessed with a glimpse of the master as he scurried into the theatre.
Oh no, I want to see him!
What are you so upset about?
I wanted to see him! They said he was coming round the back. I've been waiting for ages to see him. 9 o'clock!
Why are you so upset?
He's smashing! I kissed him! I kissed his hand! I kissed his hand! I kissed his hand!
Gene Gina, bills on his back. Gene Gina loves him to stats. He's outrageous, shakes on it rolls. The Gene Gina lets us all go.
Meanwhile, the object of so much interest is trying on his kinky boots.
When I was a teenager, I had it in my mind that I would be a creator of musicals. I sincerely wanted to write musicals for the West End and for Broadway, whatever. I didn't see much further than that. As a writer, and I really had the idea in my head that people would do my songs. And I was not a natural performer. I didn't feel at ease on stage, ever. I had created this one character, Ziggy Stardust, that it seemed that I would be the one that would play him because nobody else was doing my songs, and the chances of my actually getting a musical mounted were very slim. And so I became Ziggy Stardust for that period. And I felt really comfortable going on stage as somebody else. And it seemed a rational decision to keep on doing that. And so I got quite besotted with the idea of just creating character after character.
He's also been smart enough to realise that in showbiz, the more outrageous you are, the more people will notice you.
This is my life, really, you know, writing or performing. There's not much else I want. It's the biggest kick I know. I know all the drugs and, you know, you get a different kind of buzz off those, but stage is just something else. It's partaking of people. I'm very much a character when I go on stage, I feel. I mean,
Like an actor?
Yeah, I believe in my part all the way down the line, right the way down. But I do play it for all it's worth, because that's the way I do my stage thing. That's part of what Bowie's supposedly all about. I'm an actor. Oh, it's all right.
Later, he selects a satin psychedelic leotard.
Now, I tell you what was even funnier, though, was getting my band to put the clothes on. These guys all came from Hull, you know, we're going to play a rock and roll band, they like the songs and all. Yeah, right. And so I don't know how I did it, but I managed to talk them into doing it. A couple of nights later, we'd done a couple of shows, and all these girls were all over them. And suddenly the dressing room procedure was really different. It's right. Who's got the blush? Hey, Trevor, have you finished with that mascara? It was a phenomenal thing.
Guitar, jamming good with weird and killer. Spiders from Mars, when they played it left hand, but it made it too far. Became the special man. Then he was Ziggy's band.
Funnily enough, it was actually based on a real person. There was an American rock singer in the late 50s, early 60s, called Vince Taylor. He was out of his gourd, totally flipped. I mean, the guy was not playing with a full deck at all. And I remember very distinctly him opening a map out on Charing Cross Road outside the tube station and putting it on the pavement and kneeling down with a magnifying glass. And I got down there with him. And he was pointing out all the sites where UFOs were going to be landing over the next few months. And he had a firm conviction that there was a very strong connection between himself, aliens, and Jesus Christ. Those are the three elements that went into his makeup and drove him. He eventually went to France and became a huge rock star over there. And one night, he decided he'd had enough, so he came out on stage in white robes and said that the whole thing about rock had been a lie, that in fact he was Jesus Christ. And it was the end of Vince, his career, and everything else. And it was that and his story which really became one of the essential ingredients of Ziggy and his worldview. It was his complete otherness. I'm terribly attracted to people like that, the other people. We were only together for 18 months. The whole thing was over in 18 months, the whole Ziggy Stardust thing.
From live performances before. So perhaps like Frank Sinatra, he might make the occasional comeback. And at the age of 26, he's perhaps young enough to retire as often as he wants.
Ziggy played guitar.
I just wanted to move somewhere else. There's new kind of music. I wanted to write something, a different kind of theatricality I wanted to bring into it. It was great to let go of it, but I tend to grasshopper about. My attention span is very short.
I didn't ever see Ziggy as big. Really, it was his own personality being unable to cope with the circumstances he found himself in, which is being an almighty prophet-like superstar rocker who found he didn't know what to do with it once he got it, which is, it's an archetype, really. It's the definitive rock and roll star. It often happens, and I was just trying to document it as such. Yes, I had a kind of a strange psychosomatic death wish thing, I think. But that's because I was so lost in Ziggy, I think, again. It was all that schizophrenia.
Scavenger, season of the bed, sashing on the boardwalk, scurrying to the ditch. Just another future song, lonely little kid. Try and wake up tomorrow. I keep my friends serene. Oh, baby, come on to me. Jordan, baby. You catch a death on the boat. Young girl, they call them the diamond dogs. Yeah, young girl, they call them the diamond dogs.
It did look as if it was the ghost of Ziggy Stardust you were tying up.
Yes, exactly. That's what happened. It was trying to get rid of the damn character. It was kind of following me around, and hopefully, not. You see, I'm very happy with Ziggy. I think he was a very successful character, and I think I played him very well. But I'm glad I'm me now. I'm glad I'm me. My God, I can trot him out.
Time, giving it, keeping it back.
That's cool. That's cool. Next one. Got to do it this way to get it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Get you when you're down.
Nobody do it. Get it up.
Sometime.
Okay, that's good.
Taking you with me.
Sometimes.
Loving it,
Right.
doing it right.
So what's happening?
Absolute Ruhe, bitte.
So what's happened since?
Since Ziggy, good Lord. Well, the last time you saw me, or were with me, it was in Los Angeles, wasn't it? One of the worst periods, I think, in my life, I think. I got into a lot of emotional and spiritual trouble there. And so I decided to split and discover new ways of relating to the music business, per se. I wasn't sure exactly what I was in it for anymore.
Was there a clash between the sort of the materialism, the need to be a rock star, successful, if you like?
Yes, I think very much so. And as I really didn't want to be one myself, I was living more and more in the style of one of my characters who wanted terrific success because they're all messiah figures, most of them. Either light or dark shadowings. And so because I knew, I really felt that the material aspect was something that had to be done in Los Angeles because it's driven into you. It's the food of Los Angeles. Hollywood, rather, not Los Angeles. Unfair on Los Angeles. And so I just packed up everything one day and I moved back to Europe again.
I wish you could swim like dolphins can swim. Though nothing will keep us together, or we can be them forever and ever. We can be heroes just for one day. I will begin and
Is there a danger that by following your instinct, your aesthetic instincts, if you like, your artistic instinct, that you will jeopardise that, you know, the money and the good life and all
No
that?
shit, Sherlock. Yes, I think I've rather sort of hit that one on the head at the moment. And it's quite a relief, really. I feel a lot more free in what I do. It just needed a positive decision to only do what I want to do and not do things for the sake of what either David Bowie or whoever I was playing last time, Thin White Duke or something, was expected.
Show business. Yet another David Bowie. Is this the real one this time?
Well, I think so, yes.
A lot of people looking at some of those roles that you played, I think would have been very shocked and found them very outrageous.
Yeah.
And also there's this tremendous tendency to think of rock stars or pop stars generally, as being a bit thick. I mean, obviously there's, I presume, a lot more to you than that. Did it worry you that people have that kind of image?
No, I'm very thick.
Are you?
Yes, I became a rock star.
What is your rank?
Lieutenant.
Well, Lieutenant, I'm the head of a regiment of sorts. The Gigolos.
Yes, your lieutenant told me.
Lieutenant, there's one thing I don't like. Poor fantasy in speech. It lacks charm. And you don't seem to lack anything.
Do you lack anything, David Bowie?
Isn't she lovely?
She's marvellous.
I wish I'd met her.
Looks fantastic.
A long time ago.
I'm picking up the line she addressed you in the film. Do you feel you lack anything, or have you got everything you want now?
Yes, a train ticket to Penge. I've got some friends out there, and I promised I'd go and see them this week, but I haven't had the time to get down there yet.
Are you going to give up music now and concentrate on acting? Is this a new whole direction?
I'd like to expand my activities, as they say. No, I enjoy writing very much.
But writing, just music, or writing all sorts of writing?
Funnily enough, I am sort of studiously trying to write a book of short stories based on things that I've done. But writing music generally. Performance on stage, I think I've decided really to cut it down for once every 2 years because I find it boring. After the first 10 shows, it starts to become repetitious every night, the same thing.
So will there be more acting and more films?
Yes, there will. I'm heading towards directing.
Are you?
Yeah, very much.
That's a final hope, is it?
No, I want to be a good painter again. It's my really big dream.
And now Bowie in New York. The play in which rock star David Bowie has scored a remarkable triumph on Broadway is called The Elephant Man. It's a story set in late 19th century England of John Merrick, played by Bowie, a grotesquely deformed man who suffered a miserable existence as a pathetic circus attraction until he was befriended by a brilliant young surgeon. Bowie's first appearance as a straight actor met with almost universal praise from the New York critics, and I know to my cost that they can be slightly unpleasant at times, and there are long lines at the box office.
I have a home. This is my home. This is my home. I have a home. I have for as long as I like.
I have a sort of eclectic thing. Frankly, yes, I was.
Do you think your video had a lot to do with it?
I don't know. I really don't know. I would tend to believe, to be honest about it, I suppose that Major Tom was a sort of there's a comfortable feeling with him being such a sort of an old figure of mine. I mean, he goes back to 68, 69, whenever it was. I guess that sort of a lot of people still have some kind of empathy with him because he became a little sort of bouncy hero. I just wanted to sort of bring him up to date a little bit and put him in a Victorian nursery rhyme kind of atmosphere, even though it's not Victorian. It has that queasiness of some of those ring-a-ring-a roses, this is about the plague and we're all going to drop down dead, boom, kind of thing about it, which is what I did with the piece.
Of hotels in London's West End at lunchtime today. Times are...
Come and sit in a room with 75 journalists. Over the last year I've made a couple of movies and I've completed an album and a single called Let's Dance. And tomorrow, tickets go on sale in the UK. And in the next few days in the rest of Europe, For concert performances in London.
No other pop performer, except perhaps Jagger, could create quite this interest for the media of Europe or pull off the event with quite such style, particularly if they'd just flown in from Australia. Lavish receptions like this very often. They won't say how much they paid for Bowie, but rumours range from 10 million to 17 million pounds for a 5-year contract.
Reportedly so, yes. I'm overwhelmed that I've...
Is that anywhere near accurate?
It's absolutely nowhere near accurate.
Can you give us a more accurate figure?
Of course not.
He treated his press conference more like a cool actor than a cool pop star. Almost like some future Dirk Bogarde in the making.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
But then he has got 2 feature films opening in the next few months, including Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, the first film in 7 years from Japan's controversial director Nagisa Oshima.
I always look for characters who have either an emotional or a physical limp. I find that, for me, not being I don't really see my future in acting to a greater extent than my involvement now. So I really like to have characters that I can at least play around with.
He asked me my name and my rank, and I told him. Then Lieutenant Ito asked me, "Is that true?" I replied, "Of course it is. I'm with the British Army."
Is it worth coming to cope with the pressures of Cannes to sell a movie like Merry Christmas?
I think that a cultural co-production like Merry Christmas deserves every poundage of help that it can get, because it's otherwise it can be relegated to a position of an art movie.
Plus fort le micro, s'il vous plaît, pour Monsieur Bowie.
It's awful, really unbelievably diabolical. I do it very rarely. This is like the second time I've done it in God knows how many years. But I appreciate the value of doing it. There's time to be public with things. I mean, I don't know. I've always been a pretty private person, but I think I'm changing somewhat, that I think it's now important for me as an artist. It's slowly dawned on me that part of an artist's responsibility is to make himself open to the people that are trying to understand his work. Still not at ease with the situation, but it's making sense now.
Live Aid, the biggest musical event ever, is still going on at Wembley Stadium in London. It's being beamed to more than 100 countries around the world, with about 1.5 billion people watching. The aim is to raise £10 million for the starving in Africa.
You're him, aren't you? You're the Goblin King.
What's the word on David? He's not going to be... Every age group really has a whole thing about David. And he himself is a very normal, well-grounded, straightforward person that is absolutely professional. And if he says hoodoo, and you do.
I've never sailed on the sea. I would not challenge a giant. I could not take on the church. Time will go till the 21st century looks. I know a government man. He was as blind as the moon, and he saw the sun in the night. He took a Top Gun pilot and
David Bowie was back on stage last night with a new band, Tin Machine. Unlike previous performances, this saw Bowie as himself, just another member of the band.
Do you look back on the old sort of Bowie stuff and compare this? Does it lie in a continuum?
No, he just looks at the old Bowie.
And now music from a band formed only 3 years ago with a second album and a new single, You Belong in Rock and Roll. Keep an eye on their promising young vocalist. Tin Machine.
you belong in rock and roll. You belong in rock and roll. You belong in rock and roll. So do I. I love how she moves me. It makes me feel alright, 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 alright.
might screw up in major ways. I'd much prefer to have a magnificent disaster than a mediocre success. I'm a hurting. I'd be a fool not to be aware of what my contribution has been to music over the years. You know, I kind of hear traces of it here, there, and everywhere. I only write for myself. I don't take much regard for my audience, whoever they might be.
You're sleeping now, thinking that so stationary. You're released, but your custody goes. I don't wanna be free. Don't you wanna be free? Do you like girls or boys? Yeah, it's confusing these days. But no dust will cover you. This chaos is killing me.
Neil asked me if he could mix it because he thought it was a big single. So I said, yeah, I'd love one that the radio played. So he went away and mixed it, and now the radio are playing it. He knows these things. He has these secret ears.
We cut up the words of Space Odyssey, and he phoned up when we were in the studio, and he said, "Oh, how's it going?" I said, "Well, yeah, there's not a second verse, so we've cut up the words of Space Odyssey." And there was a long pause on the phone. He said, "Sounds like I better come into studio, I think." And I thought, oh my God, we're in trouble. And then he came in, and he laughed, and he really liked it.
Me, I'm a pretty fulfilled artist. I like what I've done on the majority of the occasions, and I'm in exactly the place where I want to be at the moment. So that's for me is a good thing.
Little wonder then, little wonder, you little wonder you.
If I just do things that I really get off on, that I think are exciting, then I can't guarantee that everybody will like it. That's just ridiculous. That's a fantasy. But you can guarantee that somebody's going to like it.
Would you be happy with just being remembered as a rock star, a rock god?
Two things strike me about that. One, I'd be happy to be remembered. And secondly, by anybody. That's a bonus. I must sound very complacent, but frankly, it doesn't bother me. I'm very glad that I've got this life, and it's a gift, and for that, I'm thankful enough, frankly.
Oh my naked eyes, should have kept you, should have tried, should have been wiser, kind of guy. I loved you.
I mean, at a personal level, you don't do drugs anymore.
No, absolutely not.
And you don't drink?
I don't drink either, no.
Not even a glass of wine or anything?
No, it would kill me if I
What do you
started
mean it
drinking.
would kill you?
I'm an alcoholic, so it would be a kiss of death for me to start drinking again. And my relationships with my friends, my family, everybody around me are so good and have been for so many years now. I wouldn't do anything to destroy that again, you know. It's very hard to have relationships when you're doing drugs and drinking. For me personally, anyway. You become closed off, unreceptive, insensitive, all the dreadful things that you've heard every other pop singer ever say. And I was very lucky that I found my way out of that. It's been good for me. I've reassessed my life any number of times.
It is so exciting. The crowd are rising up. It's a moment we have all been waiting for. The Thin White Duke returns to Glastonbury. The last time he played here was 1971. He's on stage now. Let's go and see him. It's David Bowie.
I'd just written this one the first time I played Glastonbury, 1971. Oh!
of Glastonbury. Changes. Changes. Didn't want to have to be a better man, but changes. Changes. I just wanted to be a better man. Time may change me. I can trace time.
I never became who I should have been until maybe 12, 15 years ago. I spent an awful lot of my life, as I think most people in so-called entertainment industry, actually looking for myself, you know, and understanding what it was that what I existed for, what was it that really made me happy in life, and who exactly I was, and who are the parts of myself I was trying to hide from a lot. You know, it's like exposing yourself. And I think a lot of us are, one, dysfunctional in show business. Show business. Pretty dysfunctional, and two, in huge senses of denial about who we are and where we exist in the world. There's some kind of traumatism often goes on in our childhoods, I think, that makes us crave some kind of strange affection, you know? It's sort of, and often you'll find that the person who craves a lot of affection actually isn't terribly good at giving it.
They said you took a big trip, said you moved away. It happened all so quietly, so they say. I should have took a picture, something I could keep. I'd buy you a little frame, something cheap for you. Everyone says hi.
Are you a new age father now? Are you a nappy changer? Come on, Raymond.
No, I'm ridiculously Victorian. I'm absolutely hopeless at that kind of thing. I've got a huge admiration for guys who can get in there like that. I just can't. I mean, well, I didn't. My wife didn't let me, which was great. She was like, oh, get out of here, you know, and she was like pinning and wrapping things up, and, you know, I knew there was some kind of, something in there was being prepared, and at the end of it all, my little daughter came out. It was great. But
Tony Visconti on it, producing it.
And he is old as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go back with him? He did lots of your early things, didn't he?
Yeah. We stopped arguing, you know, and it was like, it worked out that we started getting on as friends and all that. And we'd already done a lot of really good stuff together, so it was worth the chance, you know, of going back in and see what else we could do between us. So it was, I'm really pleased we did. It was a good move. It's a good album.
Streets damp and warm, empty smell metal, weeds between buildings, pictures on my hard drive, but I'm the luckiest guy. Not the loneliest guy.
I had this poetic, romantic, kind of juvenile idea that I would be dead by 30, you know, because that's all artists think. I'll be dead by 30, you know, I'm going to get TB and die and loss of blood, Audrey Beardsley and all that. And, but you don't, you know, you get past it and then suddenly you're 30 and you're 40 and then you're 50 and 57 and all that. And it's a new land, you know. Sure. I'm a pioneer. Me and my kind.
That's right.
Christopher Isherwood. Me and my kind are just sort of scraping the edge of what this thing is about, being a rock and roller at 57. Right. But my revenge is all these bands that are below us, you know, they've got to do this. So they're kind of saying, yeah, they're like really old, but secretly they're thinking, I better watch how he does it, because I'm going to get this.
Oh, the arrows left unlearned. Oh, but I'm the luckiest guy.
not the loneliest guy in the world. Not me.
He's back 40 years after Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, and 10 years since his last single. David Bowie has released a new song. It marks the singer's 66th birthday, and an album is to follow. Our arts editor, Will Gompertz, has been listening.
Without fanfare or flamboyance,
Sitting in the jungle.
David Bowie simply posted his first new track for a decade on the internet.
Where are we now? Where are we now?
It is a sorrowful, nostalgic ballad that sees a 66-year-old rock star reminiscing about his time spent in Berlin in the 1970s.
Had to get the train from Potsdamer Platz.
Fans were both surprised and relieved by the track's appearance. Some had thought that Bowie had quietly retired. Others speculated that poor health had incapacitated him.
I could do that, just walking the dead.
I think it's a wonderful song. I think it's heartfelt. I think it's poignant. But the other thing I love is that we know that he's had times of ill health recently, and I detect a little bit of kind of fragility in the voice, even though it's crooning, which is a really endearing thing.
Look up here, I'm in heaven. I've got scars that can't be seen.
Tonight at 10, the life and music of David Bowie, the rock legend who's died at the age of 69. His career spanned half a century, leaving an indelible mark on popular culture around the world.
Something happened on the day he died. Spirit rose a meter and stepped aside. Somebody else took his place and bravely cried, I'm a black star, I'm a black star. I can't answer why. Just go with me. I'ma take you home. Take your passport and shoes and your sedatives, boo. You're the flash in the pan. I'm the great I am.
He released his final album, Black Star, last week on his 69th birthday. True to form, it was innovative, surprising, and, in anticipating his own death, visionary. David Bowie was a truly great artist to the very end.
It's